Do 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 do. Hey, boys and girls, what's happening? Phew. At least I can say I've been outside for the past few days. Wonderful. Um, Certainly not an exciting shot. However, output's incredible. Wanted to review the new Tamron 70 to 210 fixed f4 full frame lens. Here it is right here. It's a really slim lens. Recently, well, the last Tamron lens that I reviewed, which was really, really good, it's also $800, and this lens is $800. Unlike the G2, which is substantially more and large and heavy, well, I mean, it is a 70 to 200 2.8, but I did rate it higher than the, which I also happen to have, the 70 to 200 2.8 FL Nikkor, which is a lot more expensive. Not only is the Tamron 70 to 200 2.8 sharper, but I preferred it over the Nikkor, which I also happen to have. This is a perfect travel lens. Now, which output between these two, considering they're both $800, is better between this, the 7210, and the 100 to 400 millimeter Tamron, which is a 4563, whereas this is a fixed f4. This one is a bit over a half a pound lighter. You let this dangle off your camera all day long. You cannot do that with the 7200 2.8 Tamron G2. It's a large lens. I would not say it's a lens for packing around all day long, nor would I consider it a travel lens. However, this lens and the 100 to 400 are ideal travel lenses. With this, you get a half pound less in weight. This one does render a bit better on a subjective scale. How much? I mean, we're talking about A versus A plus here, I guess, or like B plus versus A. They're both excellent. The bokeh on this one's better. The color rendition on this one's actually better compared to the 100 to 400 Tamron. By much? No, not really. So this is $500 cheaper than the G2 70 to 200 to 2.8. It's like, well, why would I buy this lens as opposed to the other one? Weight, this is a travel lens. This one's actually a really, really excellent lens. I've got some links to some test shots, and all of these are straight out of camera. I was using these on the Nikon D500. Bokeh is actually extremely good on this lens. Absolutely love the output on this one. I even think it's actually a bit better than the G2 70-200 2.8, which is a little flat and a little cyan shifted. Actually, of the past 5 or so Tamron lenses that I've used, actually I think the color output on this lens is the best of all of them. So it is $800. It is a half a pound less than 100 to 400, and I give the lens an A or an A plus. It is fast, not jerky, true silent wave motor, so for continuous autofocus testing, which I did test, everything was excellent. Tracked some joggers, some passing cars were coming close to me, tested a lot of action shots, continuous autofocus, 4-point zone, and typical silent wave motor performance, same as on the G2 and the 100 to 400. What would this be for? It's lightweight, it's a travel lens. It's not specifically called a travel lens, but I would consider this an everyday use, lightweight. This is a fast lens for 70 to 200 or 70 to 210, same thing. Nice compact, lightweight, fixed aperture lens. It does have 2 switches on the side, one for autofocus, manual focus obviously, and the other one for turning vibration control off and on. I give this lens a very sturdy A. Actually, well, I don't know. Can I actually rate this an A plus? For what it is, it's an A plus. I do have, and I sold, so to say, I mean, I have no connection to Tamron, sold a hell of a lot of 70 to 200 2.8 G2 Tamrons. And I said, look I have the super expensive Nikkor 70 200 2.8 FL version of this lens, and the Tamron is far superior a lens than the Nikkor is. The only design issue on it was, and I used gaffer's tape, is that the switches stuck up too far. Thankfully to Tamron, they've actually acknowledged that very, very slight design error, and they've actually changed that. So these switches are not, you have to actually flick them off and on as opposed to it dangling on the side of your waist and your clothing or your belt actually flicking the switches off and on, which is a bit of an issue on the earlier Tamron zoom lenses, as well as their primes, actually. Trying to think of something specific that I wanted to say about this lens. I mean, I was actually shocked. I do have to say that I was actually shocked that the output on this lens would be that good. It's a 20 element lens. It's very lightweight, it's compact. I'd actually consider this over the 70-200, even the 100 to 400. It's like, well, we are talking about a 100 to 400. Yeah, but it is a 4563. Bokeh on this one's better, output on this is better. Between the two, is there a substantial difference? Absolutely not. Both lenses are excellent. For $800, this is a full-frame lens, even though I was using it on the D500 today. I would highly recommend this lens. I give it a very, very solid A. I am fair to Tamron because I will point out that a couple lenses that I don't like from Tamron is their super telephoto, their 150-600, and I didn't like their 85mm 1.8 prime. To be fair to Tamron and to Nikon, there was just not a chance in hell that Tamron was going to best Nikon on their 200 to 500, which is basically a magical lens. The output on that lens is incredible. I am fair to Tamron. I have said specifically that Tamron's actually building better lenses than Nikon is today. Most of them. Now, Nikon does have multiple factories. Nikon does have some old hardcore type Japanese-made all-metal Nikkor lenses that they still make, but that's a small percentage of what Nikon does make. There's super huge, super expensive primes and some of their older stuff, but most of Nikon's zoom lenses and current primes are, you know, some pretty serious plastic Chinese stuff with micro motors in them. Tamron is making better lenses than Nikon is today over the broad spectrum of their lenses. That's not my opinion, that's a fact. As far as third-party lenses, unless we're talking about like a manual focus Voigtlander or Contax lens, which is obviously, you know, the creme de la creme, the best third-party autofocus lenses today are absolutely Tamron. Third party, I'm not talking about factory, but third party lenses. And in the case of Nikon, and I can actually say in the case of Canon, even though I'm not a person that reviews Canon gear, Tamron is making better lenses than the comparable lenses built by Nikon and Canon, which cost a lot more. Yeah, very, very solid A on the 70-210 f4. Like I said, I have no connection to Tamron. Everything I say is unaffiliate link connected, and I get no kickbacks or anything from Tamron in making these recommendations. Let's say I got some links below. They're straight out of camera, totally untouched, unaltered. I was surprised that the autofocus and continuous on this lens was not jumpy at all. I was really surprised that the bokeh was this good on this lens. And I was really surprised at the very vibrant, straight out of camera. There's quite a few Tamron lenses, while perfectly wonderful, have a slight cyan shift, and the output on this lens on 3 different Nikons that I used it on was, I used it on the Nikon D500, Nikon D4, and Nikon D850, is incredible. So, and continuous autofocus tracking also too, not jumpy at all. I nailed it. I mean, other than a couple shots that I missed because it was my own fault, the Tamron nailed it every time. And I was tracking a helicopter. That was a really boring shot. I just wanted to use that for clarity's sake of, you know, zooming in at a couple 100% and taking a look. It is a really sharp lens, by the way. So I do highly recommend this lens. That is completely objective review by someone like me that's tested more lenses than I even care to think of. Usually travel lenses like this, I don't want to keep calling it a travel lens because it's that's best idealized use. Best everyday lens as well. 70-210, is that a bit long? No, there's a lot of times where you want to get in closer and you're traveling around with a 35mm or 50 or 60. It's just not long enough. This is a very lightweight lens, and I found it very pleasurable to use, and the output is extremely good. Actually, I have to say, with the bokeh, the color output on this lens, that I actually give this lens an A+. I give the lens overall a solid A, but I give the output definitely an A+, especially for a zoom lens. It's actually extremely good. For $800, You know, you're $500 less than the 70 to 200 2.8 G2 Tamron, which is an absolutely exquisite lens, but that's a big-ass honking lens. And nor do you let a lens like that dangle off your camera while it's hanging from your black rapid strap. You know, unless you want to A, damage the mount of the lens, but B, specifically strip the threads and damage the mount of your camera. This lens, however, you can. Really, really excellent lens. I was actually kind of shocked. I was like, well, I know it's a Tamron, and Tamron's making the best stuff today, but I mean, how good could this lens be? Well, it is a fixed f4. It is really lightweight. Thank goodness they did fix the switches so, you know, you don't accidentally flick them on and off like the G2. They did fix that very, very minor design flaw. I was surprised at this lens, so congratulations to Tamron. You produced another really good winner, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Bokeh was shocking, output was shocking, and Tamron did an excellent job on this. Perfection? What is less than perfection on this lens? Actually, there's nothing to actually complain about, and I can easily always complain about something. Is there anything for me to complain about this lens that it would get less than an A+? Really, there isn't. In looking for something to gripe or moan about this lens, I can actually find nothing. I can't find anything. Maybe I could find, well, it's necessitated the design, and that just takes some getting used to. The fact that the zoom ring is up front instead of back here. Is that really a gripe? Not really. It's just the necessitated optical design that the zooming elements require that the zoom ring be up front. So that's by optical necessity rather than a design, you know, a design faux pas. I guess that's the only complaint that I could come up with, but I mean, I have some Nikkor lenses that are exactly like that as well, where the zoom ring is up front, so I guess it's an invalid complaint. So, thank you so much for watching, and thanks to Tamron. No, I didn't get this lens for free. No, Tamron didn't give me any lenses. Thanks to Tamron for making such an exquisite gem of a lens. I mean that. There you go. A lot of people wanted me to review this lens, and there it is. I was actually shocked. Knowing everything that Tamron's doing right lately, I was actually still shocked at this lens. In a good way. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good weekend. Mic drop.